This is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the week ending. I am Tunde Alabi. The British Parliament is to pass a law that will give powers to the police and other security services to access people's phone and internet records. Prime Minister David Cameron has secured the backing of all three main parties for the highly unusual move, which is to see David Cameron rush the emergency power requested to the Parliament for passage. Speaking while announcing the need for the emergency power, the Prime Minister said that the urgent action was needed to protect the public from criminals and terrorists after the European Court of Justice struck down existing powers.
As Prime Minister, I'm standing here and saying very clearly that if we don't do anything, our ability to solve serious crimes will be radically reduced and our ability to prevent terrorist acts will be radically reduced. I'm not standing here asking for new powers and new capabilities. I'm standing here saying we need to legislate very rapidly to keep those capabilities and powers that we have. The time to debate what more we might need to do, we've agreed, is for the future. My own very strong view is that we need to ask ourselves this simple question. Do we want, as a country, to leave a means of communication for paedophiles, terrorists and other serious criminals to communicate with each other that in extremis we cannot intercept? My own view is no, we don't. Governments up to now have always taken the view, whether it's to do with the mail, whether it's to do with fixed telephony, whether it's to do with mobile phones, in extremis, to keep the country safe, there are occasions when you need to be able to intercept those communications. I believe that as technology develops, we will have over time to do more to make sure that we don't give paedophiles, terrorists and criminals another way of communicating.
However, civil liberties campaigners have criticized the move, warning that it will invade people's privacy. Also, in another story, in the United Kingdom, public sector workers in the UK have held mass strikes across the country in a series of disputes with the government over pay, pension and cuts. Firefighters, librarians, teachers and council staff were among those taking part from a number of trade unions, which said more than 1 million public sector workers joined the action. Thousands of public schools pupils missed lessons during the strike, as many schools in England and Wales were closed this Thursday.
Pay rates in local authorities have got so bad that in October the national minimum wage will overtake council pay rates. You can't legally pay any less than councils pay their staff, which is appalling when you think of the frontline service jobs that those people are doing in our communities every day.
Reacting to the strike action, the Cabinet Office blamed union leaders for what it described as irresponsible strike.
I think they're wrong and damaging because they'll affect services and they'll affect people who've got nothing to do with the dispute whatsoever. I also think they're wrong because they are based, some of them are based on ballots which took place 2 years ago, with very small percentage of people actually voting for strike action.
The rising trends of Islamic radicalization leading to terror attacks from Iraq, Syria to East and West Africa have become a source of grave concern to different leaders around the world. Ben Television examines the challenges of dealing with global attacks and terrorism by world leaders. The report is presented from our studio.
My husband and I are outraged and heartbroken over the kidnapping of more than 200 Nigerian girls from their school dormitory in the middle of the night. This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education. Grown men attempting to snuff out the aspirations of young girls. And I want you to know that Barack has directed our government to do everything possible to support the Nigerian government's efforts to find these girls and bring them home. In these girls, Barack and I see our own daughters. We see their hopes and their dreams. And we can only imagine the anguish their parents are feeling right now. Many of them may have been hesitant to send their daughters off to school, fearing that harm might come their way. But they took that risk because they believed in their daughter's promise and wanted to give them every opportunity to succeed. The girls themselves also knew full well the dangers they might encounter. Their school had recently been closed due to terrorist threats, but these girls still insisted on returning to take their exams. They were so determined to move to the next level of their education, so determined to one day build careers of their own and make their families and communities proud. And what happened in Nigeria was not an isolated incident. It is a story we see every day as girls around the world risk their lives to pursue their ambitions.
Over the last several days, we've seen significant gains made by ISIL, a terrorist organization that operates in both Iraq and in Syria. In the face of a terrorist offensive, Iraqi security forces have proven unable to defend a number of cities, which has allowed the terrorists to overrun a part of Iraq's territory.
Terrorism has become synonymous with radicalization. The fear of Islamist jihadists and the ruthless manner of executing targets has become a global concern. This global concern has grown to become a global threat, not only to the West, but the entire world. From Al-Shabaab attacks in East Africa, Boko Haram insurgency in West Africa, ISIS in Syria and Iraq, Al-Qaeda in Yemen, and a host of other pockets of attacks around the world. Terrorism and the fear of terror attacks seem to have become a daily part of our world now.
We should be clear, this is not just a Nigerian issue, it is a global issue. There are extreme Islamists around our world who are against education, against progress, against equality, and we must fight them and take...
With the West African nation of Nigeria yet to come to terms with curtailing the rising deadly attacks of Boko Haram in the northern part of Nigeria and its gradual inroad to other parts of the West African nation, starting with its federal capital, Abuja. The unresolved abduction of over 200 girls from a northern Chibok village by Boko Haram, the military success of ISIS against the Iraqi government, leading to ISIS gaining a large part of the country, the destabilization and control of a large part of Syria, daily suicide bombing in East African nation of Kenya by Al-Shabaab, the control of a large desert area of Somaliland by Al-Qaeda-linked groups, constant attacks in Yemen. The world we presently live now does not seem to be free any longer from war within and attacks from these terror organizations who claim to be waging a holy war authorized by Allah, a jihad.
This is an act of pure evil. It's united people across the planet to stand with Nigeria to help find these children and return them to their parents. The Foreign Secretary and the British government have made repeated offers of help to the Nigerian government since the girls were seized. I'll be speaking to the Nigerian President this afternoon and will again say that Britain stands ready to provide any assistance immediately that we can, working very closely with the US. We already have a British military training team in Nigeria. The Foreign Office has counter-terrorism experts, and we should be proud of the role we play in that country, where British aid is helping to educate 800,000 Nigerian children, including 600,000 girls.
This organization, Boko Haram, has been one of the worst regional or local terrorist organizations in the world. We've long sought to work with Nigeria on dealing with them, and we're going to do everything we can to assist them in recovering these young women.
Hawa.
Hawa
Abdu.
Hawa Abdu.
هذه الفتيات
These girls you're so concerned with, he says, we've liberated them. They've become Muslims. They're staying with us.
The growing strength of ISIS and military strategies leading to gains in Syria and Iraq have become a source of grave concerns to the world leaders. More worrisome is the recruitment strategies which have seen even British citizens and citizens of other Western countries joining forces with these global terror groups in executing terror attacks.
It prevents you from attaining martyrdom and the pleasure of your Lord. Look around you while you sit in comfort and ask yourself, is this how you want to die?
Britain has shown grave concerns about the subsequent return of its citizens who are currently fighting alongside IS.
How many people from this country are fighting for ISIS, and what risk do they pose to the UK?
Well, the estimates that have been given so far is that around 400 people from the UK have taken part in fighting with ISIS, but those numbers are much more based around what is happening in Syria rather than what is happening in Iraq, where we have considerably less information. What I can say to the Honourable Lady is, together with the Home Secretary and others, I've chaired a series of meetings in Whitehall to make sure that our intelligence, security and policing services are focused as sharply as they can onto this problem. The estimates are now that this is a greater threat to the UK than the return of foreign jihadis or fighters from the Afghanistan or Pakistan region, and we need to make sure we're doing everything we can, as I said, to keep our country safe. I'd also disagree with those people who think this is nothing to do with us, and if they want to have some sort of extreme Islamist regime in the middle of Iraq, that won't affect us. It will. The people in that regime, as well as trying to take territory, are also planning to attack us here at home in the United Kingdom.
في سبيل ديننا لا يروعون الفنا
كينيا إذا نقول دوسي أنت صاير على كذا لي ولا قال لي هذا والرداي كل كنا نضافة لا كنا نضافة وقال كنا قداي يعني وأوديني وأشجني وحوي مركا ديد أنت ولا مركا فرينتي أنا مركا قد بينو يهذا ديجلا صعد مركا حوي إسلامي هاي الإسلام هو كمل لي تان وليش كمل لي تان عروض كمل لي تتو حتى يكون بابيا مركا هو ذاك قانتا واحد وهاي وحوي وخذ كان إيجا نبغي صدق إيجا هست مقدشة هايستا بقولك بس ديتن إيجا مسؤولة نيك أقول مقدشة هايستا هذا وإيجا على الشقيسياش أفريقيا ده باش لكني وإيجا كيني واحد صار ريحة هاي وإيجا وحوي دبعت أقول بدن وضن كانوا وعكوا هاي إنجليز كوي مركا لا صوتك مركا كوادا إنجليز كلام هذوي.
America has tightened security around airports, increasing security checks for flight passengers, making air travel more dreadful than playful. Nigeria and its security forces still unable to cope Boko Haram attacks, with the military claiming to be under-equipped and funded.
I've instructed our security forces to launch a full-scale operation to put an end to the impunity of terrorists on our soil.
The question on the lips of every sane person is, why are people killing, maiming, raping and abducting innocent people in the name of Islam or whatever religion it is, and in the name of God? Why as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram and other terror groups making the world a dreadful place to live in? The fear of terror attacks has gripped governments around the world and crippled countries such as Nigeria and Kenya, making the life of the poor people in these countries even poorer. Is it the end time, as some Christians will say, or it is merely an attempt by a group of lawless people trying to test the resolve of others to live in peace? Nobody knows how this will end. From politics to economy, business, technology, the totality of what makes man is what we bring to you here on this Punch. We'll give you the information that you need, from business to economy to politics to technology. And that's all we do here on this Punch, from the beginning to the end. And that is why we are here. Keep watching this Punch from Ben Television. And today I'll be your host. The death of Nigeria's foremost labor lawyer and rights activist Bamidele Aturu last Wednesday in a Lagos hospital has continued to attract reactions within Nigeria and across the world. Lawyers and unionists described his passing as a great loss to the legal profession and workers' union movement. Also speaking, a close ally of Bamidele Aturu in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, Khomeini Buhari, described Aturu as a man who wasn't into fame and fortune. Khomeini said that Aturu was all about doing the right thing. The Dubai-based businessman noted that the late Aturu would shy away from the media as much as he could. He said that his main aim was to do the right thing and get the job done in the right way. Bamidele Aturu died on Wednesday while preparing for the Nigerian Union of Teachers event in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. He was 49 years old. Do you have a story or video you think we can use on Ben TV News? You can send your stories with video to bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. And this is all we have for you on News Roundup this week. Thank you for being part of it. I am Tunde Alabi, and have a very good week ahead. Bye.